jump in here because, the only reason I prepared these slides was to structure the conversation because this group wants an outcome. But I think at this point, Rob, let's just skip right to what you're doing right now in Nanaimo because I think that there you have the natural segue in. There is your quote about expectations.
Did I say that?
You said that. And we published it.
So now we're live.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, yeah, Bill 27, I think we know most of the elements. It's just giving us a few more tools through the Local Government Act and Community Charter to regulate everything, parking, alternative transit options, landscaping, and we were, like many local governments, looking at it and saying, well, now what? But I guess we were also thinking about how will this look on the opposite end of the counter when we're talking to developers, when we're talking to the professionals that will be working with us with the development permit area. So I think that was one of our first moves, is we've got to start communicating. We've got to start sitting down early and talking about how can we improve the process system to incorporate these new tools, but make it a more efficient process, because that has often been a stumbling block, is creating these DPs, creating these requirements, these guidelines, and then having this miscommunication as part of the process. And I think Gary can elaborate to some of this in a minute about trying to get through a development application. And on the topic of integration, I kind of this is my aha moment. So in Bill 27, we can do DPs for energy conservation, water conservation, and greenhouse gas reduction. So really, when you think of it on the landscape, the best place to integrate is really on the landscaping element, because depending where the landscaping is in relation to the building, you are dealing with the energy efficiency of the building, and also with greenhouse gas reduction, but also with the water conservation element. So really, that's a key component when you're trying to design these guidelines to kind of focus on where your placement is, what green space you retain on site, and getting a mechanism developed that is going to encourage and entice the developer to be creative in how that is placed on the development. Looking at an example in Seattle, we're looking at a model where there is basically a requirement to have, well, we're looking at 30% coverage on a given development, but creating a point system for a developer to choose where to place that green space or landscape, whether that's tree retention, whether that's a green roof, whether that's green features on the wall, on the sidewalk, but everything having a certain level of a weighted score, which will eventually reach to that 30% coverage. I think the advantage of this is it gives what some developers are looking at is a need to have something a little more performance-based. They have the option of choosing the direction how they get there. They still reach the requirement without us telling them exactly what to do each and every time. So it's a little more responsive to the site, I think, in a lot of ways. I don't know if Gary has anything to add on that.
I think when we were looking at trying to sort of how do you communicate the guidelines, we often are doing it now, talking about it. It's kind of sporadic, and we're not sure how much is being listened to. So Rob and I have been collaborating a little bit on these guidelines, and he put a nice package together, lots of information. But it was something that, the first 5 pages you might just kind of throw. The developer might look at it, or we might look at it, colleagues, and not really spend much time on it. And then there would be a point system. So what we thought we might do is integrate the discussion into the point system. So each point system, if it's site planning, for example, we talk about site attributes or inventorying the site. But we have a little conversation, maybe 25 words, or why you would go this way. It relates back to what Rob says about how you can establish green strategies by using the site, thinking about it beforehand, before you start. A lot of developers start with the project on the napkin, forget about the site. They've got the floor area, they've done the performa, they've done all those elements. They do it very well, but they haven't really looked at the site and said, maybe I can't accomplish all those things. Or if I follow some of the strategies that are down on this page, I don't have to regrade the site. I don't have to do a lot of things that cost me a lot of money.
Gary, can you just hold that thought, because I want to give Laura, you're going to take a 2-3 phone calls. We only have 2 minutes to put some provincial context.